It's on, now it's on.
Okay.
And you can sometimes show the people as well, or the statue.
Okay, okay.
Okay, everybody, I would like to see you all. I would like to see you all because I want to introduce you. I introduced you to Ginger. Now I would like to introduce you to another very special person. Not quite a person, although believe it or not, he was a person. So was Buddha. We think of the Buddha as this god. In fact, the Buddha was a man called Siddhartha Gautama, or Gautama Siddhartha. That was the Buddha, the enlightened one. But in fact, the Buddha was just one of 1,000 princes who many ages ago decided they would seek enlightenment, and that together they would try to find enlightenment. Tristan, come over here. You're too far away for me to see you. Come up for me to see you. I need to see you. I need to be able to see everybody here. So this is not the Buddha. This is not Gautama Siddhartha. This is a beautiful prince of that 1,000 princes. They're now called bodhisattvas. They're like saints in the Buddhist religion. And this man is called Avalokiteśvara. Beautiful name. Avalokiteśvara. Now why do I choose him and not the Buddha? I tell you, don't be reading this. No reading. Look at me. You have the privilege of a special tour today. You don't need to read the labels. Avalokiteśvara was one of the 1,000 princes. He has become the symbol of compassion. And I shall tell you why. What in French is compassion? Compassion. Because when all these 100 princes decided they would seek enlightenment, Avalokiteśvara said, I will not become enlightened until all of you have become enlightened. In fact, I will not become enlightened until every sentient being, now that means us and the insects and the, well, sentient, anything that can feel, until all sentient beings become enlightened, I shall not become enlightened. I will help them to become enlightened. And in fact, he made a vow, Tristan, come near me, he's away from me all the time. So he made a vow, and he said, I vow that I shall not become enlightened until every being has become enlightened. And if I break my vow, I shall be, he asked the universe to shatter it into 1,000 pieces. If I ever give up my vow, shatter me into 1,000 pieces. So, before I go on with the story, I want to tell you that he is so special in one particular country. They've chosen him as their Buddha, and that is the people of Tibet, the Himalayan kingdom of Tibet. They regard him as higher than Gautama Siddhartha. For them, he is the incarnation of the God of compassion. They know him so well and they love him so much that his mantra, his prayer, which is very simple, it's pronounced by them Oṃ Maṇi Padme Hūṃ, Oṃ Maṇi Padme Hūṃ. That's his mantra. They know and love it so much that any child who can say mother can say Oṃ Maṇi Padme Hūṃ. After mother, the first thing they learn is Oṃ Maṇi Padme Hūṃ, before anything else, because they hold him in such high esteem. So, why do I choose Avalokiteśvara? Well, let's continue with the story. So he set about doing his helping of people to find enlightenment. And he started in hell, where there was they were furthest away from enlightenment. So he tried to help the people in hell who are suffering. One word you must understand here, it's a very important word, it's samsara. Have you heard the word samsara? You've heard nirvana, not the band, not the rock band, but nirvana. You know nirvana? It's heaven for the Buddhists, it's enlightenment. Well, the opposite is samsara, which is the way we live today, full of suffering and pain and passion and doing things we don't want to do and not doing things we'd like to do, smoking when we don't want to smoke, drinking too much when we really don't want to drink too much. That's samsara. His job was to try to help you to find a way out of that samsara towards nirvana. So he helped the people of hell because they were furthest away from nirvana and most stuck in samsara. And then he moved to our earth and helped the people here. And then he moved to heaven, where the people still needed him because they weren't completely in nirvana yet. But when he got to heaven, something happened. You know what happened? Guess. Can you guess? Rogers? Anybody guess? It's very loud in here, so I have to speak very loudly with the children. When he got to heaven, it's like the story of the Bible. You know the story where the guy turns back and looks and turns into stone? You remember there's some story in the old Bible where some man turns back. God says you must go now with your wife, and instead of go, it's Lot. His name is Lot. He turns back, or his wife turns back to look behind at what they're leaving, and suddenly he turns to stone. Well, something like that happened to Avalokiteśvara. He turned back when he was going into heaven, and you know what he saw? Guess. Something very sad. Pardon? What did he see? What did he see? When he looked back. No, not the devil. I don't think they believe in the devil, to be honest. They just believe in samsara. The fact we're stuck in our lives and we can't get on the way we want to.
What will happen to humanity?
Something like this. What he saw was this. He saw that though he had helped millions of people in hell and on the earth, but there were still more millions who were suffering that he had not helped. And they were going into hell, and he saw there were millions going into hell, and he had brought millions out of hell. But there were still more millions of humans going into hell. And what happened? He broke his vow. He lost his faith. For 1 second, he lost his faith in himself and in his noble vow. What happened then? What happened when he broke his vow? I told you earlier that he promised, I will never give up until I save everybody. And if I do for even 1 second, what will happen? You don't remember? I said it at the beginning.
People will lose their faith.
No, no. He said, if I should break my vow, I pray that the gods will shatter me into 1,000 pieces. Don't you remember that? I said it at the beginning. So he was shattered into 1,000 pieces. A bit like the crucifixion of Christ, this story. He's very close to Christ, this particular Buddha, because he wanted only to serve other people and was ready to give his own life and not to take salvation but to share it with other people. So he's very close to Christ. However, in this moment when he was being shattered into 1,000 pieces and his pieces shattered all over the universe, he asked the 1,000 princes to come and help him. And what happened? Did they listen? The 1,000 princes all came from all the corners of the universe, and it was like a soft blizzard of gentle snowflakes coming from all the earth. And what did they do? Laugh at him? No. Curse him?
Save him.
Save him, exactly. They put him together again. But this time, they gave him 11 heads. And this time they gave him 1,000 hands. And on every hand was an eye of compassion, so that he could see what needed to be done and do it with 1,000 hands. And so he became a more powerful Buddha than he had been before, because he had given his life. And now he became the great Buddha of compassion. And Buddhists believe that today, and particularly in Tibet, that it is this man, this Buddha, that will help you to free yourself from samsara and will help you to find your way to nirvana. which is what he wishes for you. Freedom in your mind, freedom in your heart. Just that you do the things you want to do and don't do the things you don't want to do. That's very difficult as a human. It's very difficult to do that as a human. And if you just look, for instance, at a drug addict or an addict of any kind, you see an extreme example of someone who doesn't want this life but seems to have no choice now. So he is the opposite to that. I finish with a beautiful poem that the Tibetan people, just a few lines, they say about this man. And this is what they say. They say, Avalokiteśvara, you are like the moon. You are like the moon whose cold light calms the flames of samsara, cools the flames of samsara. In the rays of your light, the night flowering lotus opens its leaves of gentle compassion. Oṃ Maṇi Padme Hūṃ. Oṃ Maṇi Padme Hūṃ. Oṃ Maṇi Padme Hūṃ. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's him with his hands. I think that's him. Maybe that's him with his hands. Maybe it is. They often show him with the many hands. If there's an eye on the hand, maybe it's another photo. There are many. There are not many like that.